Here with University of Tennessee Chattanooga coach Heath Eslinger at the NWCA convention, and just finished up a Division I strategic plan meeting. But you're also here as part of the NWCA Leadership Academy, and you had a chance to speak at the, I guess, graduation ceremony, I guess it would be, with the certificates. And there was a lot of talk about the things you said in that, and can you give us kind of a brief wrap of the gist of your speech?
I think, wrapping it up in a nutshell is just, the NWCA's goal, one of the things I said was just kind of lower the bar on what we think of ourselves as wrestlers and raise the bar on what it means to be a coach. Their whole goal is, how do we produce better coaches? How do we make the coaches that we have, raised to a new level, whether that's technically, compliance-wise, academically, we're all striving to, hopefully, for excellence in all those areas, but we all have our strengths and weaknesses. So I think, through the academy, even through the convention of coaches that are just here for the 3 days of the convention, I think their number one priority is to elevate, the responsibility of the coach to the athlete, to the university, the community, and to the sport of wrestling as a whole.
Well, what about as you said, lower the importance of yourself and elevate the respect of the coaching profession? But like for somebody like you who's come, you're alum of where you're coaching, which is not uncommon in the sport of wrestling, but you also come back from the high school ranks, and in what respect do you have to figure out, okay, why am I more important, less important? What's my importance with my program in the grand scheme of things?
No, I don't think there's any more important or less important. And I don't think that my job as a college wrestling coach is any more difficult than what my job was at a high school coach was. The goal at the high school was to win a championship. The goal at the collegiate level is to win a championship. But also underneath, and maybe even, I'm actually not even underneath, but above those things are all these other responsibility that falls under your title as a coach. And I think that's one of the things that maybe we've forgotten a little, and I think that we're trying to draw that back out of people to say that there's a lot more to it than the wrestling. We went through a whole list of coaching responsibilities the other day with our staff, and I'll be honest, it was 2.5 hours in before we even touched wrestling, because there's so many things to do to keep your program afloat. There's so many things to do to keep your athletes on track. If you do those things, then, I'm reading a book by Bill Walsh right now. The title of the book is "The Score Takes Care of Itself," and really that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, and I think Mike Moyer and the NWCA and this Leadership Academy is trying to get coaches to realize if you'll take the tangibles, the things that are under your control, and you'll do those things with excellence, you're probably going to win a lot of matches.
What about setting the right standard this year? I say with your team, you could have probably put the label on it that you might have cost yourself a Southern Conference title by sticking to the team rules and the things that a coach had laid out. And, where is your program as a result of that? And give us a little background on, not necessarily the gory details, but there were some disciplinary issues. You took a stand and
I think when you come in, you hear a lot about, well, we're going to change the culture, you got to change the environment, all this. And I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of it's just BS, and it's just jargon that we use as coaches, because unless we're willing to take steps to do that, then we're not really changing the culture. We're just talking about the culture that we hope for someday that's not going to exist without discipline and correction and things like that. And we took some drastic steps this year. Those kids are doing a great job. They're back on track. They were there all summer, and I think kids are striving for structure. I think they're looking for someone to push them in a direction that's maybe above and beyond what they even have for themselves. They look for that athletically. They look to you as a coach to push them above and beyond, maybe where they think they can perform. And I think they look for that in their life as well. And I think you look at the great coaches around the country, and most of them are doing those things, and most of them have very loyal athletes. And again, I think that's something that we myself through University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and I think through the NWCA is trying to get coaches to realize and say, hey man, don't be afraid to do what's right.
What has this academy and just the involvement in the convention as a whole done to help you as a coach?
Man, I'll be honest. I said on the way down here, I said last year, Mike called, I got the job. Within 6 hours, I think Mike Moyer called and said, you got to come to this academy. It's going to be awesome. And I said it was probably the most beneficial thing I did last year. In every other phase of business or life, there's professional development. Yet in coaching, we just do our own thing, and there's not this push to get better. And I think this is our professional development. I mean, it's getting together with colleagues, it's rubbing shoulders, it's, you know, looking and going, hey, there's some things that he's doing that I'd like to do, there's some things he's doing I don't want to do. But it gives you an opportunity to actually meet some people and grow as an individual, grow as a coach, which ultimately means that you and your program are growing, which is the whole goal of, you know, what we're trying to do down here is grow the sport of wrestling from a high school, NAIA, Division III, Division II, Division I level.